For teens today, technology is a large part of everyday life. On average, teens spend around 7 hours per day using technology, including watching television, using the internet, and using cell phones. Technology is a great way to stay in touch with friends and family, but can also lead to cyberbullying, addictions, and other bad situations. If we're aware of the effects of cyberbullying and how to stop it, we can more easily prevent it and keep it out of our school.
I use technology to publicize events quite frequently, actually. The SBOs and I have taken advantage of Facebook, and we use it to keep anyone who has a Facebook at our school updated on events that are happening.
I'm a great proponent of teens and technology. I think technology allows students to do things that normally they wouldn't be able to do on a regular basis. So I want to encourage teens to use technology, but in an appropriate way. I also think it's really important that teenagers manage their digital identity online. You are going to grow up the rest of your life in a digital world. You have control of putting yourself out on the internet in a way that could be positive for college entrance or jobs or anything that you want to do. So if you're a digital photographer, then you make a portfolio online. If you're an athlete, then you could create some kind of website that shows all of your athletic accomplishments. And I think that students can harness the power of technology to really promote themselves in a positive light.
I use Skype to talk to my sister in college and use Facebook to keep in touch with my old friends from my other schools.
I use IM to keep in touch with my best friends in France, Yahoo Messenger mostly, or MSN.
It's really cool because we can pretty much send messages back and forth instantly, and he's on the other side of the world-ish, I guess. So it's really great.
For computer class in digital video, we always turn in our papers through shared documents, so everybody can see them with our ideas about the projects we're doing, and so it really helps for brainstorming also.
A handful of colleges are asking students to submit digital portfolios of themselves rather than an essay. That's a new thing. I don't know if that's going to be a new wave or not, but a few schools are having the opportunity, if people want to submit a digital submission, they can. Social networking sites has a worse reputation than maybe in all actuality. I don't really think too many colleges are out there prowling around MySpace or Facebook to see how many students are drinking and smoking and partying all night. However, there are instances where schools that do tend to be a little more conservative in their admissions and have more kind of a spiritual expectation or a behavioral expectation of their students, that they do look occasionally online and have found some disparity between what a student has said about themselves in the application and the photographs of empty beer kegs surrounding their car on their MySpace or their Facebook page. So
the whole electronics generation, I think, is unique, where when I grew up and other folks grew up, you had to have conversations face to face or at least over a phone, where you could sense things from the inflections and pace of a conversation. So you knew if somebody was mad at you or joking around. I think sometimes the electronic communications can be misunderstood, and without people having really human interaction, or at least voice interactions, I think that causes a lot of misunderstandings, unfortunately.
Well, I personally don't really like text messages or Facebook all that much, because I feel like if you want to talk to a person, you should talk to them in real life. And generally because of misreading people's emotions.
So when you get a text, sometimes it's hard to tell when people use the ha ha ha. It's hard to tell if they're laughing ha 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 ha, that's so funny, or ha ha ha, that's dumb.
At one of our dances, a student came up to me saying that someone was texting him pretending to be me, which we both agreed was kind of creepy. And he told me that the people had been texting him anonymously for quite some time, and some of the things were not very nice things they were saying to him. And then he told me that someone was posting things on his Facebook, more than just one person, several people on his Facebook that were not nice things either. They were bad things that made him not even want to go onto Facebook because he was afraid that those things would be there.
I think another area that is unique about electronics is that people feel like they can say things. It's a lot easier to say things that are hurtful and harmful to people, and kind of hide behind the said button, where they'll say it and not realize that everybody, or at least a lot of peers, can read those hurtful things, and it's no different than saying it, in front of an assembly, even with as many people as read some websites, like Facebook and stuff.
I'm a victim of cyberbullying. I don't like cyberbullying. It makes me feel sad. It's not a good feeling because it's degrading, and I think people do this because they feel bad about themselves, so they try to hurt others to make themselves feel better.
I think people cyberbully because it makes them feel strong inside.
I think people cyberbully because they feel lonely and they're jealous and they're unhappy people.
So one of my main concerns with technology is the use of anonymous questions and postings. Especially middle schoolers, they seem to have the temptation to post questions or make comments to their friends online that aren't nice or appropriate, and it does kind of lead to bullying online. And
probably because they don't have the guts to say it in person, so they have to text it or email it.
I think people cyberbully because they can't talk about their feelings to people's faces, so they use the internet instead, and they take out their anger on people.
I think it's important for students to remember that what you post online will stay there. So even after you delete something, it still can be found in cyberspace. Somebody can find it and show it to other people later. Privacy settings aren't that private as well. There are ways to get around them and people to find the information that maybe you don't want them to see. So if you really don't want anyone to read something, don't post it online.
I think bullying in video games is just as big as a problem as in physical bullying, because when you're online there's a lot of competition and trash talking, and people like to put down others just to make themselves feel better.
Cyberbullying makes me feel bad because it hurts my feelings.
If you're being cyberbullied, I would suggest talking to your parents first about it, and then if it gets worse, talk to Mr. French.
If you're being cyberbullied, one of the things you can do is delete it. It's easier to just delete the information than trying to read it and getting worked up about it. It's best just to ignore it and delete it. Sometimes that doesn't work, and at that point you can talk to your friends and see what they did, maybe talk to a parent or talk to somebody here at school who can help you out. But just remember that it's the other person's issue, not yours. You might want to take it personally and be offended by what they say, but this is their issue. So try not to take it personally would be the advice that I would give, and if it does continue, then you can seek help.
If you are ever cyberbullied, then you should talk to your parents about it so nothing bad will happen to you.
If I'm being bullied on video games, I'll usually mute them, ignore them, or file a complaint against them. Never let the bullies get the best of you.
Well, many of you may know that I do play Xbox quite a bit. Sometimes right after school, going up to 9 o'clock, and sometimes even after that, doing all-nighters with some of my friends. Sometimes I don't have time for my own work because I'm so addicted to video games.
I think I spend too much time on the internet. I mean, like last night, I must have spent 6 or 7 hours just watching YouTube videos and browsing Wikipedia. I mean, like, I didn't get to sleep until maybe 2 or 3 in the morning.
That's so true, dog. Last night, I went to bed like 5 because I've been playing Tetris online. I was going to make like a full rows and I couldn't even do my homework. I totally forgot about it. Just so bad.
yelling. The problem is that when you're doing all those things and you forget about sorry, I was up all night liking people's photos on Facebook.
You know what? You should get your homework done first before you get on Facebook and online stuff, so you don't mess yourself up.
It's fun to play games like Farmville and Sushi Cat, but I mean, we gotta have some limits, you know?
Yeah, it's important to know that the addiction to technology is real. I have the addiction to video games, and sometimes it can affect my life, but I mean, it can also affect your career, maybe even shut out your friends. So it's kind of unhealthy at times.
We're not trying to tell you to not use technology, just try to use it in a better way.
Sexting is also very dangerous. Even if you trust the person that you're sending pictures to, you don't know necessarily what they're going to do with those pictures. They might show them to their friends, or after you break up, you don't know what they're going to do with them.
At my old school, I was dating this guy, and he never wanted to show affection when we were at school. It was like he was ashamed of me. To get his attention, I sent him a few photos of myself that I wouldn't want anyone else to see. Everything was going great. He would talk to me more at school, and I felt like as if he really loved me. Then one day, I was trying to prove to my best friend of how much he trusted me. I accidentally spilt one of his biggest secrets. She then told the whole school, and he knew I was the only one that knew. He was so upset with me that in the middle of the hall, he called me out about sending him the racy pictures. He said that since all my friends knew his secret, then his friends should know mine. He then sent one of the pictures that I had sent to him to all of his friends. I was completely humiliated. No one was supposed to see those pictures, and now I was labeled the slut of the school. People would make comments as I would walk by the hall, giving me bad looks and just making my life terrible. It was just one mistake, and it turned my whole world upside down. Now that I sent those messages, I can no longer control who sees those pictures.
Take a minute to think about how you use technology. Do you need to make any changes?
Don't spread rumors.
Don't post something you wouldn't want your grandma to see.
Don't send naked pictures. Do take into consideration other people's feelings when you post something. Do know your security settings. Make sure you only let people see what you want them to see.
If you do participate in social questionnaires, if you don't have something nice to say, don't say it at all.
Be yourself.
Hey, we're here to say technology is not a bad thing. We all use it every day, and it gives us a lot of opportunities to express ourselves and be creative.
We're only high school students, and we have our whole lives ahead of us. We might want to think next time before we post an inappropriate picture or post a rude comment on Facebook. Because as you grow older, employers will eventually see it, and you might not get a job you wanted just because of something you said a while back. So we're just here to ask you to think next time before you post a questionable comment.
Just use common sense, and that's all you gotta do.
Thank you.